Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 14th work session of the Town Board. Can I have a motion to open the work session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the first thing on the work session is the governor's mask mandate. Ed, do you want to walk us through that? Or do you want me to?
Well, I can set the stage for it. So on Friday, the governor announced that this was coming. At the time of the announcement, we didn't know whether it would take the form of an executive order or a regulation issued by the Department of Health. It took the form of the latter. So we now have the regulation. On Friday, we pushed out, it was an e-newsletter announcement that this was coming, and more information got pushed out yesterday to tell residents and merchants that this was going to be a new mask mandate or a vaccination requirement. So under this new regulation, indoor public places, what does that mean? That means restaurants, gyms, retail stores, indoor public places have to do one of two things. Either require proof of full vaccination at the door, and full vaccination means either the J&J shot or two of the others, not at this point a booster shot, or masks, and not just masks for patrons, but masks for employees as well. So in the entire facility, however long it's open to the public, everyone would be wearing a mask. So it's an either or, and you cannot mix and match options. You can't say that for visitors it's going to be one thing and for employees it's going to be something else. That's laid out in a FAQ that's been pushed out, and this information again is being pushed out by the town on a number of platforms. I think there was a Nixle on the town website, and it'll be, I take it, in supervisors or any newsletter again.
It will. And I think, I asked Ed, do we need to do anything in the town with respect to our mask mandate? I kind of knew the answer, but I wanted to confirm. And no, we don't. This overrides anything we would do. The only thing we talked about briefly was, did we want to, I asked if it was possible to require vaccinations for restaurants like they're doing in New York City and other cities, because obviously no one is wearing a mask when you're sitting in a restaurant. That would require a local law, and given that the Christmas holiday is upon us, I think this is being lifted, January 15th, or reevaluated by the state January 15th. So I think we're gonna sort of keep that potential in mind, but just given where we are in the calendar year, we're going to wait and see what happens there. But I certainly advise everyone to, if you aren't already, to get vaccinated, get your booster shots, and that's really the most important way to keep everyone safe. Lori?
I'm just wondering if although the timing for execution and passing would be incompatible with this review cycle, we'll hope, right? That it might be worth the exercise to draft something that you have in the toolbox and can essentially deploy if you need it.
We'll need a public hearing.
Because the review cycle takes time, right? And things move very quickly.
We can look at it. I mean, that's what I thought. I liked that idea, and that's why I proposed it. We can certainly look at it, and then we would need, for a local law, a public hearing, which we wouldn't have until January.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were just saying that it was not going to be happening in time, and so you weren't
No.
to do
It would require a new local law.
That you're going to pursue.
So, but it needs a public hearing, so it's not going to be
Okay,
enacted
thanks.
before.
May I ask, Ed, what does the enforcement look like on this, and then what are the ramifications if a business or whatever it is not in compliance?
Well, let me first say that based on our experience last year, that at least in Newcastle, I think it's been reported back to the board that enforcement wasn't a real issue, that for the vast majority of businesses that there was voluntary compliance.
Okay.
And on the occasion where there was a need to advise somebody, a warning was sufficient. So we never really escalated, again, at least here in Newcastle, beyond a warning. But the regulation has the force of law. It is punishable by a fine of
I think some people did get tickets. I thought,
Did they?
I think a couple residents got tickets.
Residents, not businesses.
Right, not businesses, like, yeah.
Right, but I
I don't know what became of them. I don't know what the prosecutors did, but.
For the most part,
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that enforcement wasn't
Right.
a problem. But like I said, the regulation does have the force of law. It is punishable by a fine. And it does provide for enforcement at the county level. And obviously, I'm sure we've all heard some news reports about some counties taking the position that they wouldn't enforce this regulation, but I know here in Westchester, that's not the case, obviously. So, I think on the enforcement front, again, at least here in Newcastle, I don't anticipate an issue.
So just a point of clarification. The decision for masking or vaccination, demonstration of vaccination, or some combination of either, is that up to the facility that is entertaining the public?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Not the individual, right? I think that's an important distinction, right? As the individual will have to comply with the requirements of the facility, not their personal preference.
Right. The facility, the place that, say, the place of public accommodation that has this indoor space has to make a determination for its facility and then apply that uniformly to everyone who's within that space, that building. So, it makes a lot of sense when you think about some businesses requiring proof of vaccination. I know on Friday, Lifetime was ahead of the curve and announced to members that it was going to require proof of vaccination once. And once you were in the system, you were, it wasn't going to be, a hassle. But other businesses like a, supermarket or, where there's more of a steady in and out, mask mandate makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that was certainly the discussion among our merchants, that it was much more straightforward for them to just universally require masks than dedicate staff to checking vaccination cards, or really even exposing staff to that kind of use of time and conflict.
Okay, anything else on this?
No, just that, maybe just more information on the town website, a link to the FAQ if people have additional questions.
Yep, and we put that out yesterday with the FAQs, and it will be in the supervisor's report as well. So it'll be in the newsletter that comes out tomorrow.
So then, Ed, are you thinking of drafting a law that is the vaccination requirement? Sorry, I forgot where we left up on this. You were saying you were going to entertain it in the new year. Is this something that you are pursuing or not pursuing?
Oh,
At least
well-
for the moment, I think it's more of a wait and see, and we'll see where we are in January, that's my understanding.
Yeah, it's not going, because, what I had asked Ed was if our current law would allow us to require that restaurants make sure everyone's vaccinated
Right.
before eating there. Apparently, it is not. So I think rather than have him draft that now, because we couldn't have a public hearing before January, let's see where we are, and then we can draft that. It's not a very complicated law, so we can draft that quickly and then notice a public hearing if we want to do that in January.
Yeah, I will say, though, that the regulation contemplates that the facility can make a determination based on its programmatic needs, right? Grocery store versus a membership club. And I think there's value in allowing choice, at least the commissioner thought so. So I think that if we looked at requiring vaccination for a specific facility, type of facility, like a restaurant, we'd want to take a hard look and understand the need for that, how it was going to be implemented, how those facilities would respond to that type of requirement. I think we'd have some work to do to get there.
Well, right, and that's what we talk about too in a public hearing. So we're not going to do that right now, but we're going to see where we are in
I'm saying
January.
the public hearing is often in response to some draft legislation,
Yep, we're
which would
going
need
to
to be prepared
look
in
at it in
advance.
January, yes.
So Ed, one more question about restaurants. Are restaurants, is there any clarity around restaurants? So let's say a restaurant wasn't inclined to check vaccination records. How does that work? Is there a carve out for eating or drinking in the, okay.
Actively
Yes.
eating or drinking.
Okay, so a restaurant could have that option, right? You need to, the servers the employees would need to wear masks. People entering the facility would need to wear masks. They could remove them to eat or drink.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, moving along. County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Great. So, in the past, we have participated with the county in their hazard mitigation plan to restore service. A couple of years ago, in the middle of the pandemic, we were applying for FEMA funding to remove the Meagle Dam. And as part of that application, FEMA required a up-to-date hazard mitigation plan. And unfortunately, the county mitigation plan was expiring. And the county had not yet selected a consultant to do their updated plan. So we went out on our own and actually created our own hazard mitigation plan with Tetra Tech, thank you, which is actually the same entity that had done the shared services through the county. We did it with them as well, and the county now is up for their 5-year hazard mitigation plan. It is no out-of-pocket cost to us. It's just, staff time. So because we've done it already, we'd like to rejoin the county effort and get back under the county's umbrella. So this is just a resolution in support of that.
I'm in favor of that. Any questions?
No out-of-pockets in favor. The next thing is the New York State DEC Hudson River Estuary Grant Program awarded authorization to hire a consultant to perform a town-wide natural resource inventory. So this is a grant that the Conservation Board and Dennis Corelli, our environmental coordinator, put together and was awarded $36,000 in order to accomplish this. We're really thrilled. And this is the next step in the process. Dennis went out and prepared a RFP, a request for proposals for consultant services. He received 3 responses to that RFP. And basically put together a memo that was just a little bit muddled, so let me just clarify it. We received 3 proposals, one of which Dennis deemed as incomplete, and 2 others. And he made an evaluation. He's actually here with us. Dennis, are you on?
I am.
Terrific. So Dennis was on and actually prepared a memo for the board recommending mad science. Dennis, there's actually a revised memo for the board on the bills for its consideration. But the bottom line is that he's made a determination that based upon the proposals received, that the mad science proposal was the most robust in its approach and in its analysis and in its deliverables to the town. Dennis, can you give us a little bit of background or a little bit of detail into what it is that we're going to be asking Mad Science to do and what we expect to receive from them?
Sure. So at this stage, the natural resources inventory is really more of a desktop analysis. And part of that is because since we don't have one, it's a little difficult to sort of institute, what areas carry what weight, what's significant, what's not significant, and there's really a lot of public repository information available. And in my opinion, that definitely went into the grant application, because DEC had a minimum grant award of $10,500 and a maximum award of $50,000. And when I saw those figures, they definitely were not considering having intensive level field programs and ground truthing data. To me, especially for a community that doesn't have an NRI, and we did identify in our 2017 comprehensive plan that we should have one, and so we applied for the grant. And now that we have the money to get sort of this first level, this first phase natural resources inventory. And it's funny you mentioned the prior hazard mitigation plan. There's a lot of information that was gathered as a result of putting that report together last year. It's a lot of, existing, from a visual perspective, mapping information, but there is a lot of detail that goes into sort of the backup for mapping information that you're looking at, let's say with respect to geology, with respect to soils, with respect to wetlands. There are mapped areas and descriptors for all of those resources that, further define, what you're looking at and what those resources are. And, those are the kind of the pieces that go into sort of the narrative of the report that supports all the nice colored mapping and all the visuals. So, what I liked about sort of mad scientists was, one, they definitely had a handle on, the repositories available, some of which, frankly, that, were new to me that I didn't even engage in when we were back in my consulting days. And two, they were the only ones that provided a clear, defined table of contents. And, when I saw the report structure and the sections and the subsections, it was really, A, well-defined and definitely answered the RFP. But B, knowing from the start what you and the consultant are expected to deliver, it makes it a lot easier to complete this process. So I feel, that they're going to deliver this report, and they're going to be able to do it based on all that's available. And it's going to be, as I said, like a first phase that we could, sort of review for all, I believe it's 15,000 acres or so, Newcastle, where those, where the resources are for a variety of the categories that were defined. And then in supplemental phases, potentially for future grant applications or potentially for future identified needs, for the town, if further in-depth analysis needs to sort of happen in particular areas, in areas near, that are bordered to other towns where connectivity of resources and contiguousness of habitats, may be something that we could promote, on a sort of intertown, interagency basis. All that sort of is at the later phase. For now, we're sort of like the missing piece of the puzzle. Hence, that's where we're going to get this NRI.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dennis. Does the board have any
Thank you.
questions on this?
No, thanks, Dennis. I thought their application was clear. Their expertise was also very clear.
Yeah.
And I think I do want to reiterate compliments to Dennis for his pursuit of this grant and his pursuit of this exercise.
Yeah, we're really excited to be able to accomplish this. It's been on our to-do list for quite a long time, so great project.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you so much,
Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
You're welcome, Mo. Thank you.
So the next items on our agenda are administrative items, payment of claims, adoption of the monthly reports for November, adoption of minutes for November 30th, authorization to approve Partners in Safety 2022 service agreement. This is for pre-employment screening and also drug and alcohol testing that is done routinely to our staff. The next is the approval of the 2021 end-of-year budget adjustments. These are routine budget adjustments that are made within the department's budgets, within everything excluding contingency. Any money transfers involving contingency lines will specifically be detailed by the controller. Rob will prepare a resolution for the board with a line-by-line description of how much money is going from the contingency to whatever designated line it is. And when do you think the board would see that? March, April?
Earlier than that, probably end of February, early March, because that has to be prepared before the auditors come in.
Got it. The next is authorization to award the bid of coach buses, sorry. It's not just senior bus trips, it's for the middle school ski trips, it's for camp and for senior trips. That's going to be to Hudson Valley Charter for the rates that are specified in their bid documents. The next is authorization to award the Southwide Stockade Fence RFP. It's going to be just shy of $21,000 to Central Industries. We're finally going to repair the dilapidated stockade fence that runs along Washington Avenue behind the farmer's market.
That's great.
So the neighbors had asked us about it. It was already on our radar, so I'm really glad that we're getting a chance to do this. The next one is a biggie. This is authorization to award the engineering services for the Duck Pond pedestrian path to Tectonic Engineering. This is $154,967.20 is the award. This is engineering services actually for two different structures. One is the pedestrian path that runs along 120 that was severely damaged and repaired after Ida. The other one is a small duck bridge that goes over the duck pond and frankly had been on the town's radar for replacement. Back when Floyd actually dislodged that bridge, the foundation was rebuilt and then the old bridge was put back on top of it. So that bridge has absolutely
Exceeded its lifespan.
Yes, it's beyond its useful life, exactly.
Yeah.
So we had already been looking at that, it's just that the pedestrian path sort of paled out in comparison.
And Jill, we think we may be able to get some FEMA money to reimburse us for some of
Right,
this.
so not for the duck pond bridge, but for the pedestrian path, that pathway along 120 that links the two sides of the sidewalks.
Mhm.
So, yeah, as a matter of fact, as you know, FEMA was supposed to come today for a site visit, and so that we can actually show them with boots on the ground, the damage that took place, and the restoration efforts that we've tried to make so far, to sort of Band-Aid the bridge back until we can actually replace it. And unfortunately, lack of personnel on their end, has to be rescheduled. So I'll be letting the board know when they're coming back, but we're definitely on their radar and they're on ours. Next is resolution reducing the performance bond. This is the Meadow Hill subdivision. It's a reduction from $145,000 to $80,000. The original $145,000 was approved by the board in February of 2019. It was for sewer, water mains, and a couple of stormwater basins. And so it's the work has been done satisfactorily, so Bob is happy to take and approve the reduction. And last but not least is authorization to declare vehicles, 3 of them, DPW trucks, 1 from 1991 and 2 from 2008 as surplus. Any question on the administrative items?
May I ask Jill,
Sure.
for the resolution with the consent agenda items,
Yes.
because you mentioned the coach bus was for also the middle school trip, does it matter if it just specifies senior bus trips? I'm not sure if that is relevant at all.
I think it's shorthanded on this. Does the actual resolution just talk about senior buses?
No, it addresses the middle school seats.
Okay, yeah, sorry, we sort of shorthanded it on the
On the consent?
consent
Okay.
agenda, but on the consent agenda, but we could certainly extend it to be the middle school and the campus.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks for that catch, Lauren.
No problem.
Okay, anything else? Nope. All right, then can I get a motion to close the work session and open the town board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody, welcome now to the Tuesday, December 14th Town Board meeting at the Town of Newcastle. We are going to start off today, see if there are any announcements, Jill?
No, I have an administrative report, but no announcement.
Okay, and I'm gonna waive my supervisor's report for today, but I urge everyone to look at the newsletter that will be coming out tomorrow. Jill?
Yeah, just a couple of things. The Newcastle Recycling Center will be closed on Thursday, December 23rd, Friday, December 24th, and Saturday, December 25th. And then again, Saturday, January 1. There's going to be no changes to the disposal and refuse recycling collections during the Christmas and New Year holiday, but the recycling center itself will be closed. So just check on the website or on your 2021 calendar if you still have it. And speaking of the calendar, the refuse and recycling calendar for 2022 will be in the mail this week. So please be on the lookout for it. And if you hold on to any piece of mail this year, that's the piece of mail you should hold on to. Really helpful. And parking permit renewals are now due. They all expired today. And so if you're parking in the commuter lot or planning on parking on the commuter lot, please contact the clerk's office, 238-4772, or by emailing the town clerk at mynewcastle.org, and submit your renewals. And the rest of the stuff will, two more things. This coming weekend, we actually have a full weekend of holiday spirit. First is Saturday, December 18th. It's the holiday parade starting at 4:30. Check out the fire truck parade route using the app Glimpse. For more information, go to the recreation page on the town's website, or join us at the Chappaqua train station for their final parade route stop around 5:45. And then on Sunday, the 19th, for the first ever, we're having a bonfire at the rec field. A 4:30 magic show with a 5:30 bonfire. There's going to be hot chocolate, holiday carolers, and crafts, and we're really excited to be able to offer these activities, so I hope you'll come on out. Thanks.
Those are gonna be great. All right, before we get to our public comment new business, we have a lot of special presentations today, which is kind of exciting. I'm thinking I might move up to the podium for some of these. Okay, the first is anyone here for Bill Witkin? Anyone here?
I think so. We've got Ed Witkin and we've got
Hi.
Ellen Slater.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
perfect.
here.
Great.
Ed, hold on, we turn on the video. This is, hey, Dad. This is, this is Bill.
I don't know, we're waving.
Hi,
waving
Ed
this
Witkin.
way.
Hi.
I'm Ed.
Joan. Jane. Hi.
Oh, and these are our friends from Atlanta. I grew up in Chappaqua, but these are our friends Jim and Elaine, who are in Atlanta. So, and
Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
we all live on Campfire. We grew up on Campfire Road in Chappaqua. At least I grew up there, and my sister Jane.
Where
back
we
then.
are now.
But Dad is here on Campfire Road, and Joan.
So, welcome. And one of the reasons we are here today is because Bill Witkin is 100 years old. So we are celebrating your 100th birthday. Yay!
Wherever you go.
So I have, I'm just going to do this from here since we're online. Happy birthday. And I have a proclamation that we would like to read to you from the town. Whereas William Bill Witkin, longtime resident of Newcastle, was born in New York City on December 15th, 1921. Your birthday's tomorrow, so we're a little early. Whereas Bill Witkin, possibly the oldest living World War II veteran in Newcastle, served as a B-24 Liberator bomber pilot and flew combat missions out of Italy. Thank you. And whereas Bill Witkin moved to Newcastle in 1961 and has lived here for 60 years with his wife Joan and 3 children, Peter, Edward, and Jane, all of whom graduated from Horace Greeley High School. And whereas Bill Witkin was successful in having his home at 113 Campfire Road designated as the Washburn Barnes House and a Town of Newcastle historic landmark. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Town of Newcastle expresses congratulations and its appreciation to Mr. William Bill Witkin on his 100th birthday. And it is further proclaimed that the Town of Newcastle declares tomorrow, your actual birthday, December 15th, 2021, as William Bill Witkin Day in the Town of Newcastle. So we're gonna have that up on our not-so-jumbo jumbotron downtown and come by and take a picture that, we wish you a happy, happy, happy birthday and thank you for your service to our country.
And many happy returns.
And many happy
Thank you
returns.
so much and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, yes, and then Vidat Gashi, from our County Board of Legislators, also sent you a certificate of merit presented to you, Bill, in recognition of your 100th birthday, and it says, "We salute you." So thank you very much. And we will make sure that you get both of these proclamations.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Oh,
Ah.
no, we're looking.
Yeah, no.
Bye.
Did he want to say?
Do you want to say anything? Do you have any words you want to? Oh, they're gone. Oh, okay. No. All right. For the rest, I'm actually going to come up here. I'm going to take this with me too. Is this everything? Yeah. Okay. So our next. All right. Our next presentation is sort of near and dear to my heart because my daughter, while not very good, was
Jeez.
a swimmer on the Greeley Varsity
Watching this.
swim team. Hopefully she's not listening already. I know that was, she loved the swim team at Greeley, and so it gives me great pleasure to announce, and we have Jeff Curtis, the Greeley Athletic Director, is on also on Zoom. He's traveling, so couldn't be here in person. But the Horace Greeley girls varsity swim and diving team are our new state champions. Which is such a feat and so amazing, and we are proud of you. Both the Greeley community and also the town. So we have a few things for you guys. And the first is a proclamation. So I know some of you are here today. Whereas the town of Newcastle is proud to be home to the outstanding Horace Greeley High School. And whereas in addition to achieving excellence in education and extracurricular areas, the school and town now celebrate being home to the Varsity Girls Swim and Dive Team 2021 Team State Champions. And whereas the athleticism, skill, dedication, enthusiasm, and heart with which the 2021 Horace Greeley Quakers swam and dove this season is a credit to the varsity program that boasts 3 championships this season: undefeated Conference 1, Section 1, and now the team state title. Whereas the Newcastle Town Board enthusiastically applauds the undefeated season record that culminated in a state championship and the legacy of success that this talented swim and dive team has inspired. Now, therefore, the Town Board of the Town of Newcastle, in recognition of your outstanding accomplishments, do hereby proclaim December 16th, 2021 as 2021 Horace Greeley Girls Swim and Dive Team Day in the town of Newcastle. And we urge all citizens of Newcastle to recognize their achievements and the distinction they bring to our community and encourage all citizens to applaud and celebrate this success. So thank you very much. And if you guys want to come up and grab this, you can all come up. And we have one proclamation, but we also have, hide this so I wouldn't lose them. I also wanted to, I tried to make this easy and I just made it work. Can you just unload for me?
Do you want me to try it?
All right, so this is for you guys, your proclamation, thank you, and I hope that you will hang it in Greeley proudly. We don't offer frames, but we have to love it.
Thank you
But
so
that's
much.
that's Jeff's.
Mr. Curtis.
Should we take a picture here?
Flag and everything, that's great, thank
we go.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. There's more.
Thank you.
And then, thank you. And then, I just wanted to read off the names of all you talented swimmers. And you have keys to the city. And we owe a big thank you to Jeff Curtis as well. So we have Madeline Adams Miller, who's a senior. Here, I'll give you one. I'm trying to do so good with this.
I like the ribbon. It's very pretty.
Thank you.
You may be getting all of them.
All right, let's. Okay, Sarah Agdern, Olivia Andrews, Kelly Byrne, Natalie Caruso, Kiara Sechik,
Oh, that was good.
oh, Joyce Chen, Ava Choi, Zoe Chung, Sarah Convery, Claire Dong, Audrey Ho, Lucy Johnson, Sabrina Johnston. Thank you. Michelle Kasulka, Avery Kiesel, Sophia Kong, Jordana Lichtenthal, Catherine Mosca, Grace Nadecki, yes?
No, she's not here,
Oh.
bye.
Mina Nespoli, Isabella Paez, Carly Penn, Haley Penn, Ava Peters, Soraya Ronnie, Josephine Rose, Ellie Slive. Yay! Thank you. Julia Sun, Jessica Sang, Sienna White, Abigail Wixom, Amy Yang, Rachel Zhang, and Emma Sue. Thank you. And I do know many of your names, and I know how awesome you are. So thank you, and thank you to Coach, Meg Kaplan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Please. And I have more if you want to give them out to the rest of the team.
Yes, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. And Jeff, do you want to say any words? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say thanks to Lisa, thanks to the crew. Also, let's rewind a little bit and say congrats again on Bill's big birthday. That's pretty impressive. So when I met with the girls after the season, first of all, it was a pleasure to watch the whole thing unfold as their August practices began. I was there at one of the first practices, and I tweeted something about this team works really hard, and I don't think there's anybody in Section 1 that has more fun than they do. That seemed pretty clear from day one. And that's a tribute to not only them, but Coach Meg and Coach Jeannie. So thanks to them. When I met with them after the season, talking about some ideas for ways to recognize, I floated the idea of, a Newcastle girls swim and dive day. I floated the idea of the keys to the city. And if you look at the keys that they got, and Lisa had to help me coordinate that because I've been out of town for a couple of days, and I might have had to ship an extra batch of those keys because the first one was at my house. So I sent the second one, but the keys are obviously symbolic, right? They're probably not going to open any physical doors in the town, but that's okay. The point of being on a team like this, yeah. Well, you could try. You could try. Just flash it. The point of something like that is to acknowledge what you've accomplished and what that might do for you down the road. Being a part of a state championship team is something that no one can ever take away from you, and something you should cherish forever. 25 years from now, when you're floating around, I don't know, whatever the Facebook people call themselves at that point, and you connect with some of these people who you were teammates with, you'll remember it. And some of you perhaps might say, hey, I still have my key. And it's something I hope that you'll remember for a long time, because I was fortunate enough to be a part of one, and I still remember it. So again, congratulations to both Coach Jeannie, Coach Meg, to all the girls, to the families. And thanks again to the town of Newcastle and Lisa for helping us organize this night. And I appreciate it. I'm just happy to be a small part of it.
Thank you. And also thank you to all the swim team parents, because we know what it's like going to all those swim meets for hours and hours. And, you know, if it weren't for your parents supporting you, you know, none of us would be here where we are today. So you should thank them too. And does the rest of the town board want to come up for a picture?
Sure.
Okay. We're hoping for treasure chest. So where should we be? Like here? Okay. So come on in, hold up your keys. Come on in. Hold
I
up
think
your
you should be
keys.
somewhere close enough that I can put rabbit ears on somebody.
Thank you.
I've said enough all season.
All right, thank you, and let's not repeat what I said about Arden. She knows. All right, next I had the privilege of attending, last week, our Assemblyman Burdick, honored some, amazing groups in our area who go above and beyond to employ those with disabilities, or, you know, those who are differently abled. And we are fortunate enough to actually have been awarded in our town 2 places who were recognized by Assemblyman Burdick. And so we've asked them to come here today so we could present them also with our proclamation. And the first is our very own Chappaqua Library. And I see them sitting back there. And, you know, our library, as I said that day, we know our library is incredible. And the fact that, you know, you offer so many great opportunities for everyone to feel valued and respected is so important in our community. So we wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you as well with your very own proclamation. Whereas in order to spotlight the vision of our community establishment, who choose to see the myriad of social and economic value of employing people with disabilities, and whereas the long-standing commitment of the Chappaqua Library for the creation of an inclusive environment encouraging the growth of people with disabilities is well known. And whereas the Chappaqua Library has proven that integration of people with disabilities into the workplace is a success story for both employer and employee. And whereas in order to recognize the Chappaqua Library's example of encouraging the potential of people with disabilities to benefit those individuals and that of the wider community. And whereas in order to encourage other businesses and organizations to follow in the footsteps of the Chappaqua Library in moving forward a fuller integration of people of all abilities, now therefore be it proclaimed the town of Newcastle recognizes the efforts of the Chappaqua Library for their vision and efforts to create an inclusive work environment for the betterment of our entire community. And it's further proclaimed the town of Newcastle declares December 17th, 2021 as Chappaqua Library Day in the town of Newcastle. Thank you. If you guys, you should just stand up here.
Oh, yeah.
I got one more.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for everything. Thank you. And this is for you. And I'm gonna thank you. Absolutely. Sure.
Thank you, Supervisor Katz. It's a great honor to receive this proclamation from you today and to have received it from Assemblyman Chris Burdick last week. Although this project did not start under my leadership, I've been honored to continue this as a priority. Deborah Bloomgarden is one of our library clerks, and she nominated us for this award. As I mentioned at the Assemblyman's ceremony, we strive to see everyone for their full potential, and Deborah really brings a tremendous amount to the table. We are honored to have her there. We are thrilled to have her there. We look forward to seeing her every day. She works in our children's room, and she makes an enormous difference. Deborah, thank you again for everything you do. And we, as the library, will continue our mission as well. Thank you.
Take a picture of everybody.
Quick picture?
Well, can I ask you to take a picture one? Sure.
One's got cameras here.
Want to be in front of this?
Yeah, that's
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you again. All right, and then finally, receiving the same award, unfortunately, Christina could not be here today, but our wonderful establishment, Wags and Whiskers, not only does an excellent job of employing those who are differently abled, but also takes very good care of our furry friends. So we have a proclamation for them tonight too, which we will make sure they receive. In order to spotlight the vision of our merchants who choose to see the myriad of social and economic value of employing people with disabilities. And whereas the long-standing commitment of Wags and Whiskers for the creation of an inclusive environment encouraging the growth of people with disabilities is well known. And whereas Wags and Whiskers has proven that integration of people with disabilities into the workplace is a success story for both employer and employee. And whereas in order to recognize Wags and Whiskers' example of encouraging the potential of people with disabilities to benefit those individuals and that of the wider community, and whereas in order to encourage other businesses and organizations to follow in the footsteps of Wags and Whiskers in moving towards a fuller integration of people of all abilities, now therefore be it proclaimed that the town of Newcastle recognizes the efforts of Wags and Whiskers for their vision and efforts to create an inclusive work environment for the betterment of our entire community, and declares December 18th, 2021 as Wags and Whiskers Day in the town of Newcastle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. Well, and that is all I have for proclamations, so I'm gonna go sit down. Right, we don't have anything else for them, I don't think. What's happening on the 19th?
Isn't that the bonfire?
We're not gonna know what to put on that board. All right, so thank you, everyone. So now we are going to move on to public comment and new business. I see a lot of people here. Anyone with public comment or new business, feel free to come on up. Come on up.
Come on up. Up to the microphone.
Up to the microphone. You can turn it around.
Or you could
do you
just
want me
grab
to-
it.
Oh,
Or you
yeah.
can grab it.
No,
just
No, the microphone.
Oh, the microphone. Okay, sorry.
We're not gonna make you move the podium.
Got it.
Just point
You just
down.
pull it out,
There you
yeah,
go.
perfect.
Let me just get my thing out. Okay. Hello, my name is Arden Myers, and I am a senior at Horace Greeley High School. In my social justice class, I've been investigating LGBTQ plus rights and representation in Chappaqua. And through interviews with fellow LGBTQ plus peers at Horace Greeley, I have learned that many of them feel excluded and isolated. So I asked myself, why is that? After conducting more interviews targeting this question, I discovered that LGBTQ plus issues are not talked enough about in classes. Why are LGBTQ issues not included more in our school curriculum? I came to the conclusion that it's not just the school that pushes this agenda forward, but our community as a whole. Our curriculum reflects our community's values. The people with power to address the issue of the LGBTQ inclusion in our community are the members of the town board. Upon investigation, I realized that the town board does not in fact have an LGBTQ plus related committee. However, a committee structured with similar concerns of justice and equity was a committee I found called Race and Equity. I reached out to a former member of the committee, Nichelle Elliott, and asked her questions about the committee. She told me a lot about how the CRE committee came about, and I realized that's exactly the level of awareness we need for action for the LGBT community in Newcastle. Because there was no LGBTQ organizations located in Newcastle, I looked elsewhere and found the closest one was in White Plains, called Loft, also known as the LGBT Community Services Center. After meeting with the directors of Loft, I came to the conclusion that the lack of historical groundwork in Chappaqua is the reason why there isn't an organization like Loft here. Their establishment has been running since the early 1980s, the time of the AIDS crisis. The atmosphere in our town often is exclusionary, and by continuing a one-sided viewpoint on community issues, we are doing a service to not just the students and younger generations in this community, but everyone. The community as a whole is suffering because of this, and our students are suffering because of this. My recommendation is that you create a committee that represents those in Newcastle who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. Not just to represent, but to protect and support LGBTQ plus people. This committee could organize events for community members and help to implement more resources in schools for students. As was recognized with race and equity, this proposed committee needs to be permanent and cannot be ad hoc. These committees need to be permanent and committed to long-term structural change. Coming from someone who identifies as bisexual, I can say that growing up in Chappaqua has not been the easiest. I never learned about LGBTQ plus rights and history in school until this year, and I'm a senior. And before that, I taught myself everything. So going off to college, I want to leave our community knowing there are people within the board advocating for LGBT youth in Newcastle. So please consider this addition for the benefit of everyone in our community, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you
So-
for, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so thank you so much for coming up and speaking. I know it's not so easy to speak before a board sometimes, even though I think we're pretty friendly. So thank you, and I think you're right. And Lori Morton did sponsor this year our first. Well, I'll let you talk about it. But our first rally for the LGBTQ plus community. But I do think we should form a committee, and I appreciate you bringing that to us. And I also want to make sure that we have student members who join that committee. So I know you said you're a senior, you're graduating, but I would urge you to make sure that we can bring that awareness to the schools so that we can get people on this committee. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do you wanna?
Thank you, Arden. That was beautifully stated and deeply appreciated. We did have our first recognition of Pride Month in Newcastle this past June. In trying to plan for that, I felt the loss of exactly what you're describing, right, which is a cohesive group within the community to really help us do a good job of supporting this environment of inclusion. I did find the Loft to be a great resource for us in thinking about how to plan for that event, as well as the Horace Greeley Alliance for Equality group that participated in our Pride ceremony. So every initiative, like a new committee involved, it requires passionate community members to be a part of it, and so that's what I hope will follow with the support of the next town board.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do you want to say something?
No, very briefly, just I'm grateful, and I'm sure we all are grateful that you had the courage to come up here. It's not so easy to do so, especially when it's an important issue and personal to you. So any recommendation is something that we take to heart. Thank you very much. Always feel free to reach out. And this is a great place to start. When people voice their concerns or what they want to share with the community, that's how things move in the right direction. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, all of you who are here tonight, it takes a lot of time and courage to come here, and I think that the important thing is just this whole concept of belonging and resources in our community, and just ultimately making this a better place to live for everyone. So I just thank you all for coming tonight in support of your friend, as well as for you, Arden, for speaking out on this. And my town board at mynewcastle.org. It's a very easy email address to remember. So, I'm sorry I won't be here at the end of the year, but I know the next town board will absolutely be committed to this.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, anyone else for public comment? Oh, we have
So
one
we
more
have
person
people-
here, hang on. Come on up.
I'm just curious, actually, do we have multiple?
No, it's just,
Okay, I'm just curious what the whole social justice class is
well, we're just supporters.
joining
Yeah.
us. Okay.
There's a lot
That's
of
wonderful.
people doing similar projects, but us two are the only people coming to support, I think. Yeah, at least tonight.
You're the bravest.
All right,
So, good evening, town board members. I'm Emily Adler, a current senior at Horace Greeley High School. I've been researching local policing practices for a year and a half now. While I had known about issues between police and marginalized communities before, the direness of the situation became clear after I, along with many other Americans, witnessed the video of George Floyd's murder. Change is necessary. I would like to propose reinstating the Newcastle Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative Committee and making it a permanent addition to Newcastle government. Last year, on June 12, 2020, former Governor Cuomo passed Executive Order 203 in response to increased publicity on police violence in the United States. The order called on each municipality to take a look at the police departments and meet with their community to develop new protocols based on evidence-based policing strategies. Additionally, these plans were required to be ratified by April 1st of 2021. As you know, here in Newcastle, a temporary committee was created, also known as the Newcastle Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative Committee. After a number of meetings, both amongst themselves and with community members, the committee released a number of recommendations for the Newcastle Police Department. These recommendations were adopted on March 2nd of 2021. But since then, the status of the Newcastle Police Department's efforts for reform towards more equitable and responsible policing has been unclear. Work on equitable and responsible policing does not end as soon as guidelines have been adopted. It is a long-term process that requires transparency, accountability, and ongoing revision. Research has shown that engaging with the community on matters of policing is key in both ensuring that the officers are working to the best of their abilities and the community is benefiting to the greatest extent that they can. I have been interested in learning more about policing and mental health protocols for the NCPD for a period of time now. But as my research has progressed, a bigger issue has emerged. Information regarding current policing guidelines and practices isn't very accessible. Before a call to the police is even made, community members are unaware of how they will be treated and what protocol needs to be followed. How can marginalized community members have trust in local police if they aren't aware of the standards officers are held to? After speaking with my school resource officer, I learned that aside from 2 weeks of mental health training done at the police academy, police in Newcastle are trained in-house. I want to do further research in an attempt to understand what the training includes in terms of mental health, response protocol, but I'm finding it difficult to gather the necessary information. Ideally, my next steps would be to submit a Freedom of Information law request or speak to the police chief. However, the vast majority of community members do not have the time and potentially even the knowledge of how to track down this critical information we are looking for. This is why a new and improved Newcastle Police Reform, Reinvention, and Collaborative Committee is necessary. The role of the committee would be not only to hold the police department accountable when it comes to police reform, but also to encourage transparency and communication between community members and the Newcastle Police Department. I understand that the original NCPRRCC established the need for an Office of the Community Advocate, in which people can bring complaints regarding the police department. Nevertheless, a committee centered around transparency, and education in the Newcastle community can help mitigate situations before they even get to that point. This May will be the 2-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. I ask you to take the idea of reinstating and expanding the Police Reform Committee into consideration, because we cannot go another year without police transparency and accountability in this community. There is more work to be done when looking at equitable and responsible policing. Stopping police reform efforts when they are not required by the states is a disservice to the community. Thank you.
thank you. You want to take this one?
I think, I was involved in that committee with our police chief, and first of all, thank you, and I'll say the same thing I said before, it takes a lot of courage and effort to come before us and share your thoughts, and they're very valuable, and I'm glad that you pointed out some of the things that we had planned for, and it's sort of living and breathing, meaning that it has to constantly evolve. because nothing is stagnant, especially when it comes to law enforcement and what they need to do. Some things, practically speaking, it's difficult for us to do because there's a state mandate, there's the reality, there's financial issues. We would love to have more training. That's one of the things that we discussed. Did the county not just announce in the past week or two about these sort of access to mental health professionals in times of emergencies? And we'd like to be able to have more ones that are always closer to the municipality, because it's only so helpful if something happens, for example, in Somers, and you have a down county in White Plains or lower. So there's a lot of things that we need to consider doing, and whether that's through the committee, I mean, that's a good idea for us to discuss going forward. But we just need to act on some of these. We just need to act. We just need to do it. So I appreciate you coming in and sharing it with it and pushing us, because it does need to get done. And that's a sincere response, not just, hey, here you go, here's your answer. We appreciate the follow-up, because it needs to be done. So thank you.
And Jill, perhaps we can have Chief Carroll come to a board meeting at some point and really update the community as to where we are and where we're looking to go.
Sure. The chiefs, so one of the standing committees that came out of the police reform, and I'm sure Councilman Salam will remember, was that there was a standing chiefs advisory board, which has met. There are continuing meetings. I don't know if their minutes are public or not. That would allow people to take a look and follow the conversations, but that would be very helpful to the community, I think. And we are moving ahead with our community liaison. I know that we have one person who applied to be an advocate, a public advocate. We're going to see if we can wrangle a couple more up, just because, one size does not fit all. And, this way, we certainly want to be welcoming when someone feels that they need assistance in navigating the police system. As scary as this scenario is, approaching the police is really scary. So we want to make sure that that we're in a position that we are as welcoming as we can be and as transparent as we can be to the public, so they do know what their rights are and they do know the steps to take along the way. So thank you. I really will present it.
Thank you. And Emily, I will reach out to you when Chief Carroll will be coming so you can come attend.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And I think, again, just echoing the importance of engaged community volunteers to support these efforts, not only the community advocate position, for which, as Jill just said, we're still recruiting, but our Committee on Race and Equity, from which, which partnered for this exercise. That committee is also recruiting volunteers as well. Appreciating that over this incredibly difficult time of enlightenment and awareness, many of the people who have been doing the work and carrying the torch for these issues are representatives of marginalized communities, and the emotional burden and fatigue that comes with carrying that torch means that you really need to keep recruiting fresh volunteers who aren't carrying perhaps as much fatigue and are ready to pass the torch. And I think that this is a great example of that phenomenon as well. So I encourage those who are passionate about these issues to step up and volunteer.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Rob?
At one point, can we put like a light thing on this thing so we're not all speaking into these things, kind of like George did, and then we...
Wearing a mask though right now, but yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're looking into seeing what we can get in the future to place over them.
So a couple different points here. One, in terms of the mask mandate, I know that a couple different county executives have kind of got on their political soapboxes and said we're not going to enforce it and so forth. But I get more concerned about when, and I'm not sure what their specific position is, but when one of our neighboring communities is also making the same types of noises. And how does that affect us? It was one of the reasons why I was concerned about kind of a town-by-town approach. When we have even a state mandate, and we have a town that's right next to us saying that they don't love it and making noise, which is their right. You know, how does that all work legally? And do we have to do anything to kind of prevent, you know, it's uncomfortable, so I'm not sure what issues that raise or how we deal with that, or just something we have to live with. But it's a concern.
I don't know that the board can really do anything that happens outside of, you know, town boundaries, but I think the board's doing what it can do, which is talking about it, pushing out information to residents and businesses.
Just wanted to bring it up. In the context of the mandate, I assume that since people have to choose one or the other, either the masking or the vaccinate, is it possible to get a list that's maintained somewhere that we know the people who are choosing the vaccination alternative? People obviously have no obligation to do that, but you know, it'd be nice to know if for people who want to be in that kind of environment, how to find that. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I assume the vast majority of people are going to go with the masking alternative. But
I would recommend to reach out to the Chamber of Commerce, Rob, because they have that contact information of all the, so whether it's Linda Bosco or Natalia Wixom, they've been on top of just getting, you know, in in contact with all the merchants and the restaurants and everyone in Chappaqua and Millwood.
And we can ask them to update their Facebook page and their newsletter that comes out. We can see if they wanted to advertise
I know
who is.
that some of the gyms are going that way, but I'm not sure if anybody else is going that way. It'd just be good to know. Did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just that I know, I believe that many of our businesses are posting, at least posting on the door, what the expectations are
Yeah.
for their facility.
Right. The other part of that is a lot of the doors, there's one bank in town that I use, you know, they don't post on the door. It'd be nice if we can encourage our businesses to actually post very clearly on the door what their policy is. When you had mentioned the natural resource project that we got a grant for and that we're going to be doing, is there any opportunity for interns on that as part of that project?
I don't
I'm
think
not sure
there
if
is.
No, this is it's a tabletop exercise,
Okay.
so it's using the GIS and yeah, so I wouldn't imagine on this. I'm sure there will be down the line for interns, but yeah, not on this specific project.
Okay, just wanted to mention it. In terms of the budget, are there any more last minute adjustments that have kind of shown up in terms of maybe additional revenues that we may take comfort in? That have come, we're still up where we were last week.
No, there are no changes to the budget at this point.
And then lastly, on vaccinations, you know, when you look at, one, I wish that all politicians, elected representatives would start talking about the amount of people who had just one dose. Because here in Newcastle, I think we're pretty close to almost 100%, at least based upon what's published, of one dose. I don't understand the fact that we're 80% of two-dose here in 10514, and I think it's about 90% of that in Millwood, and it's actually kind of disappointing, angering. I'm not sure what the right, that's where we are. These people aren't vaccine tested. They just haven't gotten off, you know, the couch to go do that, and it'd be really good to, especially with the information we're getting now, and you saw somebody like George pick it up, and he's fully vaccinated, people to make sure they're at least fully vaccinated. I don't know if there's any way to reach out to those people. The Department of Health must know who they are. I'm not looking to out them or shame them, but I wish there was some effort, especially given the concerns that have been mentioned by the state and the county, to get these people to get their second vaccination. I don't know how to do it, but I find it really disappointing, because the last thing I want to see if these things get worse I don't want to see shutdowns. And this is a glaring example of really low-hanging fruit of people who can come get and, you know, and get fully vaxxed up.
So, you know, there are HIPAA guidelines and regulations, so we obviously cannot go out and seek out who didn't get these. But what I can tell you we can do is continue to encourage everyone to get, you know, complete their vaccination series and then to get boosters. And also to hold additional vaccination events like we did yesterday that was held at the Millwood Firehouse last night. I've been speaking with Northwell Hospital and, you know, Northern Westchester Hospital here, and we are looking to have some additional vaccination events. So I will certainly make sure that the community knows about them when we have them.
And the state has shown no kind of inclination to potentially send out some reminders or things like that?
I mean, they're, you know, the County Executive Latimer did put something out with, they have a new public service campaign to try to encourage everyone to continue to become vaccinated. So I have seen those coming out there, and I think, you know, as much as we can all push, unfortunately, we can't drag everyone there. But we can certainly continue to make sure that the information is out there to the public and certainly encourage that.
Lastly, one, I wanted to thank the Austin Ambulance Corps, the Chappaqua Rotary Club, and the Firehouse for running the event yesterday, and I know that Northwell and Town of Newcastle were involved as well. I think those are really important, and I hope to see more of them. And then lastly, I wanted to thank both Lori and Lauren for their service. I've known Lori for over a decade, and I've known Lauren for less than that during her 2019 run. And just because you don't agree with people on all their issues doesn't mean you don't respect the effort and the commitment that it takes to go and serve on this board. And I really wanted to acknowledge that for both of you and to say thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, anyone else here in person? Okay, Carrie, you had someone on the line?
Sure, hold on 1 second. Cynthia Moses, just unmute yourself. Okay.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. I was so taken just now by these two people who stepped up to ask for LGBTQ plus and police transparency and communication and engagement. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. That I added something to my list that was not originally on my list. I would love the town board to consider asking all the other boards that meet to have a public comment new business section or just a public comment section to their meetings so that the planning board, zoning board, you know, all these different boards that meet can hear from the public, boots on the ground directly. And that would go a long way, I think, to public engagement and conversation with the right boards of Newcastle. So hopefully you would take that up and consider making that request of their agendas. Moving on, I want to thank you for continuing to do the blended Zoom meetings. It speaks to much more accessibility. Thank you very much. I hope it continues well into 2022, the way things are going, and maybe just for accessibility ongoing. Number 3, your hazard mitigation plan, is that only for natural disasters? Hello?
We're thinking.
We're thinking.
Oh, okay.
It's
I just have a black screen on my side, so I don't see anything.
Yeah, sorry about that. Give me a for instance, other than a natural disaster,
Well,
like
for instance, you know, way on the west end where I live, there is concern, even though Indian Point Nuclear Plant is decommissioned, doesn't mean that it's not a hazard under certain circumstances.
The nuclear plant.
I believe
Yeah.
it's covered.
Yeah.
I believe it's included, but I will double check that for you.
That would
I believe
be-
it's included. I believe man-made disasters are included as well.
Okay, and I don't think it's in this document for consideration. So it would be very important, I think, to double check that and see if there is a way to fit that into what you approve. And then I also looked at all of the boards and people who are part of the review process. And since you have reinstituted, for instance, the Millwood to West End board, I think in terms of understanding what the hazards are, natural hazards of Millwood to West End, they would be a great board to include to review, you know, what works and what doesn't when bad storms come through, and how to navigate it more efficiently in the future if people have had, you know, less than perfect experiences in the past. That would be possibly helpful to your, you know, review of hazard mitigations to create a plan or an updated plan. So maybe that kind of work could be added to the group that is working towards a safer town. So moving on to your review and funding of the Hudson River Estuary natural resources inventory work. I am a huge fan of the original 2007 document that is called the Indian Brook Croton Gorge Watershed Conservation Action Plan. My understanding of the funds that the state is awarding you is that they are to be spent to update that 2007 document. Am I wrong about that? Because what I can see from the way this MAD proposal is structured, it seems like the 15,000 acres is all of Newcastle, and that Newcastle needs, and justifiably, an inventory. I get that, a natural inventory, but I'm not sure that these monies from the state are to do all of Newcastle versus the mapped out areas that are included in the 2007 report specific to the Hudson River Estuary and the Croton Gorge and Indian Brook watershed.
Cynthia, we're gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, that's all good.
Dennis was her earlier. We will get back to you on that one.
Okay, so if there's something to be looked at there, then perhaps as written, approving your now to spend the money should not be part of what you adopt tonight.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Well, aren't you gonna authorize the funds that New York State has provided to do both the town-wide natural resource inventory, which then will be a basis for the Hudson River Estuary update, resources update?
Well, I think it's a lot broader than that.
Which one?
Doing the full natural resources inventory.
Yeah, that's very broad and very necessary for Newcastle, definitely. But my understanding of the monies that New York State Department of Environmental Conservation awarded Newcastle and other municipalities was that that money would be specifically to, it's called the 2020 Hudson River Estuary Grant Program. So it's particular to that region of Newcastle, which is the West End.
You know, when we applied for this, the application for the grant and the information in the resolution mirrored each other. So, I would think if we were incorrect in our parameters insofar as what was covered, that the state would have declined our grant proposal. But our paperwork is all consistent with the original grant. There's nothing that we are deviating from in our resolution. I'm sorry I don't have Dennis on the line anymore. He was with us in work session to take and answer the board's questions and to review this document with them. And I'm sorry that you weren't with us at that time.
Well, I guess, you know, this is a particular document that they're looking to update from 2007 that is particular and very much includes, you know, the West End and maybe a little piece of Middlewood. And I know that the comprehensive plan was passed. I know that the idea of having a comprehensive inventory, natural inventory, makes absolute sense, but I understood that I was having a problem, for instance, during the election season, talking to all of the different people running for office. I would be looked at like I thought we were looking at everything, and I was responding with, I'm really excited about updating this 2007 document that focuses on the West End. And there definitely was a disconnect in that conversation. So I wanted to bring it to your attention and figure out, you know, exactly how those funds, which I thought were Hudson Estuary directed, Indian Brook and Croton Gorge, seem to also be getting applied towards a natural resource inventory for the whole town.
Okay, Cynthia, we're gonna, I thought it was for the full town, but we will have to get back to you. If we can get Dennis to, you know, hop back on, we will try, or we are trying right now, but we will certainly make sure to reach back out to you with the answer to those questions.
Yeah, I guess I was, Sabrina might also know this as well. I mean, I had been, my understanding is there are two different exercises. One that is also a remote mapping and characterization exercise that is around Indian Brook. That is part of the overlay district exercise. But the natural
Portland was spearheading, and we were assisting or,
participant.
you know, signatories to.
Right.
That was separate.
But the natural resources inventory is the
Was
whole
the
community.
conservation
Right.
board along
It's
with,
all of
Right.
Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know, and part of an exercise toward our climate smart communities work.
Jill,
Yeah.
do you think that
And
we
it's
can
very,
just approve
absolutely very
the
important.
resolution next week at our other
Yeah,
meeting?
we can pull it over to the 21st, so I
Okay.
can get clarification.
Does that make sense to
Yeah.
everybody?
Okay, yep.
Cynthia, we'll pull it
Okay.
off for tonight. We have another very brief Zoom meeting on the 21st at 9 a.m. just for payment of claims, but that will give me an opportunity to take and just clarify this for you. Okay?
And could someone email me, is that meeting a meeting that has a Zoom option also? Where I
It
can
is
just-
only Zoom, so yes.
Great, if someone could email me that particular special time that you have.
Right, it's.
Sure,
it's 9
and it's gonna be
a.m.
publicly noticed
Yeah,
as well.
everything will be
Yeah.
publicly noticed. There's no surprise.
And which day again?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, and
December 21st, 9 a.m.
9 a.m., perfect.
Yep.
Thank you,
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Okay, so,
I'm gonna, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you.
thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
I'm gonna jump in for one little brief public comment before we turn it over. I promise not to cry, and I promise to also remind everyone that Lori Morton is not the only doctor on this board, because Lisa and I are Juris doctors. And I would remind Miss Dr. Morton that we also have two doctors sitting to my left. So, touche, Dr. Morton. I want to thank you both, I want to thank you as well, but Jill and Ed, you guys really went above and beyond the past 2 years, and more specifically the past 6 months. You really always available. This community, no one realizes what you do and understands what you do. And even the things that you do, you continuously and always make yourself available to do more. I can speak from my own personal experience that you probably both could charge this town an additional $250 an hour as my mental health professional and social worker. The guidance that you offer our professionals, our management, this town board is, there's no monetary amount, nor is there the right words to explain what you do in our gratitude. And just again, looking back at what I've dealt with, this town board has dealt with, this community has dealt with, you folks, everyone, but you folks, you two have really stood out. And from a personal perspective, I am forever grateful. And I used the term before about being friends, and you're more than just colleagues or professionals that I work with, but friends as well. So to wipe away my tears and my I love you, man, you're the best, I am going to also present you with alcohol. So thank you both very much. I didn't drink before I came, I swear. So thank you very much to both of you.
That was very kind, and
So-
we definitely echo Jeremy's sentiments. You know, the town would not be able to run without you. And actually, that reminds me, I probably should have announced it earlier, but we had so many people here for the presentations. Before this meeting, we did have a ceremony. It is Lori and Lauren's last in-person meeting. We will have one more quick Zoom one next week, and it's the last in-person meeting. We had a lovely ceremony thanking them for all they've done for this town, and we had proclamations and flowers and individually wrapped cupcakes, and really, you know, we don't need to repeat what we said there, but just know that this whole town appreciates the time and effort and commitment you've both put into the town and your work on the town board, and we owe you a debt of gratitude, so thank you. All right, so now that we all love each other, I think we're gonna move right to the.
I'm sorry, I actually heard back from Dennis,
Oh.
and I don't know, he wrote that,
You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe let's just talk about this next week, and we'll understand it for.
It's not like time sensitive, right, Jill?
I.
The resolution?
I thought it was.
That's the only reason why.
Let me go, text him and just.
Okay, just confirm that part. So anyway, we can pull that off the consent agenda for right now, and then we can always add that one back in.
Okay.
So if there's nothing else, I think we're gonna move to resolutions.
Okay. You know, Lisa, how about I just start with payment of claims and the budget, and then
Sure.
swing back? All right. I move to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $441,026.19 listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detail voucher. Detail report, both dated December 12, 2021. Checks will be cut and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, December 15, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to adopt the following resolution. Resolved, the Newcastle Town Board hereby adopts the preliminary budget and attached salary schedule as the final budget for fiscal year 2022, and be it further resolved that the 2022 final budget for the general and highway fund set forth a total tax levy of $17,004,491, and be it further resolved that the 2022 final budget for the solid waste district renews the annual dwelling unit charge of $526 per residential unit, and be it further resolved that the regard to condominium complexes with adequate refuge storage capacity as determined by the Commissioner of Public Works, the 2022 budget for the solid waste district renews the annual dwelling unit charge of $526 per condominium residential unit for those condominiums which will remain or change to once a week collection, and be it further resolved that the regard to condominium complexes with limited refuge storage capacity as determined by the Commissioner of Public Works, the 2022 final budget for solid waste district renews the annual dwelling unit charge of $315.60 per condominium residential unit for those condominiums which will remain a twice-a-week collection.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What do you think, Jill? Should we leave it out and,
Yeah,
okay.
let's just strike it. We'll do it on the 21st. It won't be a problem. And Dennis will be able to explain it all, but they are two separate things. But Cynthia isn't here for us to give her the benefit of the conversation and let her ask follow-up questions. So let's just leave it to the 21st so
Okay.
they can have that conversation.
All right, I move to adopt the consent agenda as submitted, consisting of the following: authorization to pay out excess vacation, authorization to post laborer DPW highway, authorization to hire laborer DPW, authorization to accept resignation and reception, authorization to post and hire part-time receptionist, authorization to hire recreation attendant, authorization to hire 16 ski trip chaperones recreation, adoption of monthly reports in November, adoption of minutes November 30th, 2021, authorization to approve Partners in Safety 2022 service agreement, authorization to approve 2021 end-of-year budget adjustments, authorization to award bid of coach bus for senior trips, middle school, and camp bus, authorization to adopt the 2022 Westchester County, New York Hazard Mitigation Plan update, authorization to hire a consultant to perform a town-wide natural resource inventory, authorization to award the DPW 2021-12 South Lot Stockade Fence RFP, authorization to award engineering services for Duck Pond Pedestrian Path Tectonic Engineering, resolution reducing performance bond Meadow Hill subdivision, authorization to declare vehicles equipment surplus.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Lori?
Lauren, was that the revised one?
Yes.
This one?
Yeah, the last one, right?
Okay. So this is the contract for the natural resource inventory? No.
No, yeah, we're gonna hold this.
Yeah, we're gonna hold
Oh, so then what am I looking?
So I think we're, John, so you can make a motion to,
Okay, I move to adjourn.
Wait.
No?
Wait, before you go, please take your name tags with you. You never know, like, when you may be able to use them, like at the dinner table, to reserve a space at the beach, your line at Whole Foods, whatever the case may be. And before I end, I know Jeremy is continuing on the board, and we're thrilled with it, but I wanted to say thank you to him as well. Nobody really appreciates the amount of work and how all-consuming the supervisor's seat is until you're actually sitting in the seat and you're the recipient of all those emails, even though you have a full-time job, a full-time family, and, a life. I think if you had realized what was involved, you may not have been so gracious with your time and said yes, but you did, and the town is the better for it, and we very much thank you.
Thank you.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
Okay, want to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the town board meeting.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Happy holidays, everybody.
On the record.